And we now move to talk about markets and are pleased to be joined by Danielle Shea, the Director of Operations and Trader Specialist at Simpler Trading, who joins us from New York, and John Grace, the founder and of Investors Advantage Corporation, who's in our Los Angeles studio. Welcome to you both. I want to start with you, John. Are the biggest gains that we've seen of this recovery, are they passing us?
Well, we won't know, Bart, right, until some time elapses. They could very well have been the case that the best is behind us. Excuse me. We've been suggesting since January that we prepare to enjoy the uprising, but prepare for the downdraft. And only time will tell if we're in the middle of that.
And Danielle, the techs have been the darlings of this recovery. You think techs maybe have topped out? They certainly took the biggest tumble of all of them last week.
You know, they did take quite a tumble, but honestly, to me, it looks like a very similar pullback to what we experienced in February and March, and it looks very similar in nature. So I think here it's bottoming out, and I think it's an oversold buy, and I think it's a good entry point.
Okay, so you think folks should buy the dip. Is there? Do you think, Danielle, that there's something perhaps that could be is there something that could be a stimulus that could get things back on track, or do you think it'll happen without any external forces?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the biggest stimulus right now is going to be the earnings season. So it really comes back to what investors are expecting. And I think there are very high expectations surrounding this earnings season. So if the tech companies can hold up what they're expected, then I think we could see a nice rally after earnings season. However, if that does not come through, then of course we can look for those to take out the lows.
And John, do you think if investors are saying, you know, John, I maybe want to not be in some of these things that have been going so gangbusters recently, would you look at maybe domestic small cap stocks that may not have the exposure to the tit-for-tat trade wars with China? Is that a place that you would suggest investors go, or are there other places?
Well, certainly you're going to look for quality if we see a lot of negativity, and so you're going to see the growth stocks take it on the chin, but maybe the higher dividend-paying stocks being a safer place to be. At the same time, you never know when this thing just comes apart at the wheels. So we hope that earnings stay strong. We hope that consumers continue to march with their checkbook, whether it's cash or credit. But I'm going to submit that you want to look to see what kind of losses can you withstand, and then set those parameters and see if your portfolio can perform with those parameters. Then you don't have to worry about how low we can go.
I want to ask you both about the Fed. And John, we'll start with you and then to Danielle. But, the President of the United States let Janet Yellen go. He said she was doing a fine job, but I guess he wanted his own person, in this case, a white dude. But it seems that Jay Powell, the president's pick, who's confirmed by the U.S. Senate, looks to be just like every other traditional Republican. And the president says that the Fed's gone crazy. They're loco. John, what do you make of it?
Well, our president is a great guy, right? At least ask him. He'll tell you he's a great guy. And he does seem to be very fond of people who look exactly like him, older white men, in deference to the rest of the economy who aren't looking like him, whether it's gender or in color. Now, when everything is going gangbusters, of course, he's going to take all the credit for that. And when things start coming awry or not performing just the way he thinks they should under his magical watch, then he's going to be mad at you and blame you for this as though it's your fault. At the end of the day, we give too much credit and too much blame to the president or the leaders. It's the primary driver is the consumer, and that's the behavior we need to watch.
And Danielle, same sort of question to you, but also answer this if you can. Larry Kudlow, the chief economic advisor for the president, came out after these comments that the president made about the Fed being local and tried to walk it back a little bit. But what do you think about it? And do you think that has any impact, sort of deriding the Fed on what they may or may not do coming up?
So I don't think that it has an impact on what the Fed may or may not do, but I do think it has a huge impact on the market and just investor confidence, because when you have a situation where there's instability in the market, that is what actually causes the problems instead of You know, initially when the Fed came out and raised rates, sure, we got a little bit of a pullback. But honestly, I think that the pullback and the deeper correction was more caused by instability in the markets, because that is not a situation that traders like. So,
Danielle, do you think we're going to see another rate increase in December?
I do think that we're going to see another rate increase, and I think that that's expected. So I don't see that that would necessarily impact the markets in a huge way, but I think that if Trump is going to react the way that he's reacting to it, I think that that could absolutely cause a negative reaction in the markets, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. John, we're low on time, but what's your thought on that, and what are you going to be looking forward to in markets going forward here?
Well, we're going to look for stability. We're going to look for consistency. I think the earnings will probably stay strong, but we're also prepared in the event that we have a turnaround here, because it's when the markets go way south, like the Titanic hitting the iceberg, that makes all the difference in the world, particularly for people who are needing withdrawals, whether it's something that they're doing in terms of required minimum distributions or they need those withdrawals. That's when they can ill afford another 40, 50, 60% loss.
Great. John Grace, the founder and president of Investors Advantage Corporation, and Danielle Shea, the director of operations at Trader Specialist at Simpler Trading. Thanks very much to both of you.
Thank you so much.